Good morning, everybody. We have a higher trade in the grain markets here early on Friday morning. It is 6:30 a.m. Central Time. March corn futures up 8 1/4 at 542 3/4. March soybeans up 11 cents at 1364 1/4. March Chicago wheat is up 6 1/4 at 653 1/4. March Kansas City wheat is up 4.5 cents at 630 1/2. March spring wheat is up 7 cents at 626 1/2. So a little bit of a rebound this morning after some selling pressure yesterday. U.S. exporters made another massive corn sale to China yesterday. USDA reported a flash sale of 1.7 million metric tons of U.S. corn to Chinese buyers. In total, China has booked a total of about 3.7 million metric tons of U.S. corn this week. That's 147 million bushels just this week alone. Yesterday's flash sale was the sixth largest flash sale of U.S. corn on record, so strong demand continues as prices surge to fresh highs. U.S. corn is still the cheapest available on the global export market, so if anybody, China included, needs corn now or during the next couple of months, U.S. is still the best game in town, certainly. It's also interesting to note that USDA, I believe, reduced its export forecast for corn in this month's report, and they may have to walk that back and move back higher given some of these sales. Now, of course, there's always the prospect or possibility of cancellations or things along those lines, but there's no evidence to support that at this point in time. This is kind of an interesting story. The U.S. oil industry is seeking to align with corn growers and biofuel producers. The oil industry wants to form essentially an even larger lobby against the Biden administration's push towards electric vehicles. This, of course, would be a very unusual alliance. Oil groups and the corn lobby, biofuel lobbies are typically adversaries. But in this instance, I guess they share a common cause. Some of the comments here are in the news wires I find to be pretty funny. Jeff Cooper from the Renewable Fuels Association said, "We weren't born yesterday, and we're not going to let the oil industry play us like a fiddle. They have a long history of pushing surrogates and proxies to the microphone to do their dirty work, and we're not interested in that." The National Corn Growers Association is considering whether to send staff to a meeting next month. Emily Score is the head of Growth Energy. She said, "It's no surprise the oil industry all of a sudden wants to give us a bear hug. We produce lower carbon fuels. They don't." So it doesn't sound like the corn lobby and the ethanol lobby is in a big rush to get in bed with big oil here, but that may be what's necessary. We'll see what happens. It's an interesting story. In news that's kind of related, General Motors has announced a plan to phase out gas and diesel powered vehicles by 2035. At that time, according to their plan now, the company's lineup will consist of only electric vehicles. They're going to push toward a carbon neutral type setup by 2040. Now, of course, this is not a factor that's going to impact our markets here short term, but it does not bode well for the long term future of ethanol. I mean, GM's doing it. You've got your Teslas out there. Every major auto manufacturer is making a push toward electric vehicles, and things are going to look very, very different 10 to 15 years from now in regard to fuel usage, usage for ethanol. It's probably not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when and how at this point that this transition takes place. So, long term and 10 to 15 years from now, I understand is a long time, but we may need to find some different sources of demand for corn in particular. USDA said that they expect larger U.S. corn and soybean acreage this year. This should be no surprise. One of their chief economists said at the conference in Paris, "Since the price of both soy and corn are higher, the price signals are really to plant more of both, and that's what we expect to see." Now, of course, we won't see the planting intentions report until the end of March. The estimates that we've seen so far from private groups suggest that we could see an overall increase in combined corn and soybean acreage of more than 10 million versus last year. You've got to keep in mind that in 2019, we had more than 20 million acres of prevent plant. Last year, we had more than 10 million acres of prevent plant. Prior to those 2 years, we had been running at like 2 or 3 million or in that neighborhood. So if you were to bring a lot of those acres back into rotation and then take some acres away from wheat, from small grains, you could very easily increase combined corn and soybean acreage by more than 10 million, especially at these prices. Soybean crop estimates out of Argentina have been reduced slightly. The grain exchange pegged the crop at 46 million, down from 46.5 previously. USDA was at 48 last month. They may have to come down as well. Due to high temperatures and limited water supply in key farming regions, our soybean production estimate has been reduced. That's what the exchange said in a report. So I don't think that that's a big surprise to anybody. South American weather's kind of leveled off, and I'd say is generally benign here for the moment. You're going to see some harvest delays because of rain, and there's all sorts of chatter going around. But in general, I think that a lot of the groups and a lot of the governments are starting to align in their crop estimates. Certainly, the cattle market finished a little bit lower yesterday. Not a ton of cash activity this week. 111 to 112 in Kansas yesterday. 110 to 111 in Nebraska. There was some stuff in the South at 113 on Wednesday. So despite the fact that the board has acted much better, we have really not seen it reflected in the cash to a very significant extent just yet. Ahead of the cash open, the stock market's lower. The Dow Jones is down 184 points. The S&P is down 25. U.S. dollar's up a little bit. Crude oil is up 17 cents in the March WTI at 52.51. Bonds are lower. If you guys need some more information from me, as always, you can visit my website. It is www.standardgrain.com. Go to that website, click on Grain Marketing Plan here in the upper right-hand corner. For $49 a month, you sign up through PayPal, and it bills your credit card automatically. $49 a month, I'll send you my morning email. That goes out every business day at 6:30 a.m. Central Time. I'll send you my text message service. You can cancel this deal at any time. It includes all of the overnight headlines that you need to be aware of, any new grain marketing recommendations. I break down my recommendations by crop year, and by percentage. It's tracked every day. It's very specific. Certainly check this deal out. There's no other obligation, no other fee. You can cancel it at any time whatsoever. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. I will talk to you on Monday.